Good morning, it's Friday and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. Today, hopefully a short video, and it's just sharing something that came to me this morning. So let me share it with you. You know, whenever you feel confused, well, let me speak for myself, because when I'm speaking for myself, you may relate to it. So I woke up this morning with so many things going through my head. It happens to all of us. We're in the information age. All this stuff is coming in all the time. And there was a lot of confusion. This happens to us all the time. Where do I start? What do I do? Here's the thing. For myself, whenever I feel like that, the first way I want to escape that and clear that is to get out and go for a walk and go somewhere in nature where there are trees. Whatever the weather, I just want to get out. Now, here's the point I want to make here. That what are we at that moment escaping to? I thought about it this morning while I was sitting outside in the early morning with my cup of tea in nature, looking at my garden, listening to the birds sing. This is what I do every morning, and I'm recommending you all do it. But let me get back to the point. The point is that I wanted to escape, and I always want to escape into nature. Why? Because that's where I feel something in me, in my heart, feels closest to God, to the divine, to the divine. Something in me, when I'm outside in silence, it has to be silence. That's why I go off to a park or early morning. I feel close to God, God being the mind behind the universe. Universal mind. I don't choose to flee to a prayer mat. I don't want to do that. It doesn't come to me that my mind is in a mess. I'm really feeling confused. Let me go and sit and pray. I don't want to flee to a local church. I don't want to flee to a book, whether it's the Quran, which I'm studying at the moment, or the Bible, or any other scripture. I don't even deeply want to go and see my mother, my father, or a friend. I want to get out and clear my head. Look at the metaphors in what I'm saying. I want to clear my mind. And the way to clear the mind, for me, and I can tell you for every human being who's attached to who they are, is to get out into nature. Now, which is what I'm about to do now anyway. I just want to go for a long walk. What does that mean? Think about it. If you know that you want to go and sit on a park bench somewhere and just contemplate, what are you contemplating with? Why is it you want to do that? Why is it innately and naturally you want to go off into nature where there's the birds, the bees, the trees, the sky, the breeze, the rain even? I would put it to you, doesn't that symbolize immediately that that is the house of God? That is the connection within you. That is the place the source connection within you to the mind behind the universe. I mean, to me, it's so obvious. I don't think of running to a mosque or any stone building or place. I think of running to nature. I'd really like you all to really consider what I have just said. The other thing that I'd like you all to do, and I've mentioned this, remember, I'm just sharing with you. You don't have to do any of this. I'm sharing my way of life and how I handle situations and how I know that the reason I'm here is not just to flow smoothly through life, is not just, I mean, what I also know is that we are not able to perceive things in the way that human beings are naturally meant to perceive things, which cannot be explained in black and white. You've got to think about how many millions of years or thousands of years or whatever we're here. It can't be. It's something that is felt from within. And there's not an answer. There will never be an answer. That is the answer. The answer is that there isn't an answer. But you will know the truth when you look inside yourself. Now, I'm just gonna read something to you that I have now read 3 times, because each time I read it, I pick up something else. And that was a piece that was written by Bernard Gunther. He runs the veilofreality.com. And remember, when I say this, it doesn't mean I'm promoting him. No, I'm just reading something that he wrote, which is actually a quotation that he got from somewhere else. I'm very careful when I'm reading something to read that and not attach it necessarily to that person, and not necessarily think therefore that what that individual has written, everything about him is correct. No, I know how to discern and think for myself, and then allow myself to contemplate from within and sit in nature where I am closest to God. Nobody anywhere can challenge me on that, because I know myself. Go ahead and try. Do what you want. I'm saying this to you too. You know yourself if you are able to connect to yourself. And that takes silence. And I'm always saying in almost every talk that I give here, go into nature. But read that whole article. It's fascinating, and I shared it 2 days ago, and when I do the notes later, I'll share it again. But I just want to read this part to you, which is about the devil. And one of the reasons we're here is to always be aware of when Satan, that kind of devil's play, comes in, and be aware of it. That's why I'm always fleeing to nature, because I know I'm not in my right mind, which is why I go into nature and I walk. Gotta walk and then sit down, walk. Do it first thing in the morning if you can. All right, move. So let me read this to you. Remember the story of how the devil and a friend of his were walking down the street when they saw ahead of them a man bend down, pick up something from the ground, look at it and put it away in his pocket. The friend said to the devil, "What did that man pick up?" "He picked up a piece of truth," said the devil. "Oh, that's very bad business for you then," said his friend. "Oh, not at all," the devil replied. "I am going to let him organize it." Now, let me move on to the next part. You get what I'm saying here. Oh, it's not a problem at all. It's not bad business. I'm going to let him organize it. The real mischief of the devil is not to sow falsehood and hatred in the world, such as Attila or the Nazis have done. He is far too clever for that. But to lay hands on a grain of truth and then to twist it ever so slightly. nothing is more intractable than a perverted truth, because the falsehood is made that much stronger by the power of truth it contains. And, you know, I have read this so many times and I understand what it means, but I am now relating it to even scripture. I read somewhere some time ago by a believing woman. She said, within the Bible, there is a Bible. Something that I researched yesterday that completely blew my mind about the Quran, where an individual, and I will share his details later because I need to do more research, has said that the Quran did not come in its form, and there were several versions of it, and there was plenty of evidence. And that blew my mind, because whilst I always questioned how it stayed in that form, and I'm not saying it isn't a beautiful book, it is, but I've come to realise that there is a Quran within the Quran, not least because it might have had several different small changes here and there, but because even in the Arabic form, it cannot be understood literally. I've talked about Douglas Klotz's work, where in Aramaic, and that's something I'm very keen on pursuing, simply because I saw it in a dream, and very clearly, that language, that it must be perceived from a literal, metaphoric, and a universal perspective, which is a mystic perspective. So there's different layers of meaning. And how do you decipher what those meanings are? You read, you research, but then you disappear off quietly and silently somewhere and sit down and ask God, the mind behind the universe. You go within and ask God. Now, you can easily say to me, well, you're saying that God is within you. Well, yes, he is. But no, he isn't, because he's the mind, the universal mind. I'm connecting to that universal mind. How are you ever going to go through life not knowing who you are without doing that? And that's not anyone, anywhere, whatever creed, colour, when they go off into nature and sit down. There's a little piece in there where the author was saying he feels closest to God, or somebody was saying closest to God, not going into a church or a synagogue or a mosque or cathedral, but when he visited the Grand Canyon and just sat and just looked and marvelled at nature around him, and he felt that force within him. Because I've never felt that, but I've been on top of a mountain, a small mountain, and I know what he's saying. Isn't that God? Your actions prove it. But what you're pulled to do, don't ignore that. That throws water over the importance of all religions, all books. That's not to say that scriptures aren't important, but it's knowing how to discern the words of the scripture. But that throws water all of that, because far more important than that is that silence within you and nature. There's no, you must do this, it must be organised. All religions are organised forms of morality. Think about what I'm saying here, and that's not me saying that you shouldn't. I'm studying scripture at the moment because I seek to learn and expand my knowledge, and all this is expanding my knowledge in ways I cannot even begin to explain. It's a very, very hard journey, but it's one that I'm on. But when you cut out the noise, and it's taken me years, that recognition and that realization comes upon you, and it will be a lifetime, the rest of my lifetime. But I'm so grateful that I'm in this place today. Anyway, read the notes later down below and have a good day. And tomorrow I will aim to continue with the next part of reading the chapter on cancer and the metaphoric reasons psychosomatic reasons behind cancer. Have a good day.